Hey, you ever have one of those weeks where shit just won't go right? Like no matter what you do, nothing seems to work. Every day just kicks your ass. You fuck up at work, everything you say and do comes off wrong, your phone crashes, your home office crashes, your car crashes, your significant other's pissed off at you and you don't even know why. Your roommate ate the last pickle, and to top it all off, your cat just developed a new habit of shitting in your shoes. Just getting beat down every fucking day. Yeah, that's the week I had last week. Well, not exactly like that, but you get the picture. It was bad. I talked about it last week, so some of you know. And unfortunately, despite the fact that my calls for the Thursday night game were flawless, my bad week leaked into the rest of my calls, and I really screwed the pooch on some this week. So if some of you had a bad week, like you started Devontae Booker over Alex Collins, or you started T. Higgins instead of Sterling Shepard, or you wrote off the likes of Derek Carr and Mike Gesicki in favor of Taylor Heineke and Hunter Henry, like what was I thinking? I apologize if I helped contribute to your bad week with those bad calls. But you know what? Week 6 is over. The universe can try all at once, but it's not bringing us down, is it, freaks? Hell no. We're gonna get up, we're gonna look fate in the eye and say, I'm still here, asshole. Tell last week to fuck off. Cross it out on your calendar, cut it out and burn it up if you need to. And if you've got a page a day, take all the pages from last week and wipe your ass with them. Because we are not going to let one bad week, my only bad week of calls this year so far, keep us down. We're going to rise from the ashes like a phoenix and we will not falter. No matter what obstacles in our way, we're going to get up every day and do what we do best. And that's put boots to asses and make every day our bitch. So what do you say, Fantasy Freak Army? Let's fortify the Fantasy Kingdom, support each other, empower each other, and make this the greatest damn week the Fantasy Freak Army and the whole damn Fantasy Kingdom has ever seen. You with me? I said, are you with me? Good. Fuck week 6. Week 7 of the Fantasy TyRant starts right now. From the Fantasy Armchair, it is the Fantasy TyRant. Hey there, fellow fantasy football freaks. Welcome back to the Fantasy Armchair. I'm back on my U.S. tour, traveling around to all 50 states. And I made a stop off here at the historic Route 66 in Oklahoma, where most of the history of this historic highway took place. The route is kind of like a representation of America, moving on from the old and into the new. Anyway, you didn't come here for that. You came here for the top 10 waiver wire picks for week 7. I'm not going to take up too much of your time with the business end of the shit. Just hit like and subscribe. We need 10% likes and we need 500 subscribers before the end of the month. You do that and I'll do something awesome for you. As usual, want to know what it is? Hit subscribe. Maybe you'll find out. Oh, and don't forget, sign up on Patreon today and you're going to get 7 entries in the Grandprize Giveaway of a Stitch jersey of a player of your choice. Check the Patreon link in the description below for more details. Thank you all again for your support. Well, let's get on with the show. You know what that music means. That's right. It's time for my top 10 waiver wire targets for week 7. Number 10, T.Y. Hilton. After missing the first 5 weeks to recover from a neck injury, Hilton came back and it seems like he hasn't missed a step, snagging all 4 of his targets for 80 yards on Sunday. Wentz didn't hesitate to go to T.Y., and now that Paris Campbell's likely done for the season, it could be Hilton and Pittman catching all the passes from Wentz this season. Carson finally got his cavalcade of crap under control, and the offense is starting to look pretty good. Getting a piece of it is a smart idea at this point, and Hilton is available in most leagues. A lot of good matchups between now and the bye week, like the Texans, the Jags, the Titans. I can definitely see Wentz gelling with and eventually relying a lot on T.Y. this season. Worth a pickup and stash if you've got the room. Number 9, Donovan Peoples-Jones. No, I'm not chasing fantasy points on this one. Sure, DPJ had a fluky awesome week with half his catches being for touchdowns, but this is now 2 weeks in a row of getting 5 or more targets, a huge improvement over seeing only 4 targets over the first 3 weeks. With Kareem Hunt likely out for a while, his team-leading target share needs to go somewhere. We've been waiting to see if it was Peoples-Jones or Rashad Higgins that would break out as the number 2 wide receiver to Odell Beckham, but the answer is clear, and it's Peoples-Jones. The possibility of Baker Mayfield missing time is what keeps him from being higher on this list, because the idea of him starting with Case Keenum at the helm doesn't exactly pump my nads. but Peoples-Jones is definitely someone to pick up if you can. Number 8, Marquez Callaway. After he finally had the big game we were all expecting from Callaway, he goes on a bye and everyone forgets about him. He's only 34% rostered. When I saw that number, I nearly crapped my underoos. I think he actually went down in ownership since his breakout game. And while your brain tries to wrap itself around that crazy horse shit, let me tell you who the Saints have the next 4 weeks. Seattle, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, and Tennessee. All bottom 10 against opposing wide receivers in fantasy. Yeah, Michael Thomas is coming back, otherwise I'd have him in the top 5. But I don't think MT necessarily retakes all the targets in that offense the second he comes back. And Callaway has proven recently that he's a consistent target for Winston. So take advantage of the fools in your league who dropped him and pick up Marquez Callaway. And if you were one of those fools, good thing you found me, cause I won't let you do anything that stupid ever again. Either way, go get Callaway. Number 7, Darnell Mooney. Another guy who makes me feel like a waste of breath and dad jokes. I've been telling you for weeks that this is Fields' guy, and he's averaged over 10 fantasy points since Fields been the starting QB. I've been telling you that you need to start him, but you all keep starting A-Rob instead. And how's that turning out for you? Bench him or trade him. Pick up Mooney, play him, and be a better fantasy manager. Mooney is money as long as Fields is throwing the ball for the Bears. And the Bears take on the Bucks, the Niners, and the Steelers between now and their bye. Cha-ching! So go get Darnell money and cash in. Number 6, Tim Patrick. And to round out this trio of undervalued, under-owned wide receivers I keep telling you guys to pick up, but you won't, here's Tim Patrick. And he's only 35% owned. Just what the fuck do I have to do to convince you all that Tim Patrick needs to be owned in all leagues? He's an excellent bye-week fill-in and a solid start every week. I only have one wide receiver listed higher this week, so I hope I don't have to talk about him again next week. I don't know what else to say about this guy. Go watch every other waiver wire show of mine, cause I've already said it. But top 30 wide receiver after 6 weeks should be all I need to say. Get his ass now! Number 5, Ricky Seals-Jones. The second hyphenated Jones surname on my list. How specific? What if they got married though? Would they become Jones-Jones? Or Seal Peoples? I kinda like that. If they're like Seal people, they'd have to grow mustaches, balance a beach ball on their nose, bark and clap, you know, that kind of shit. Anyway, my weird fantasies aside, with Logan Thomas out, Ricky Seals-Jones has actually played better than Thomas. RSJ has been a great tight end too, or fill-in role for a few teams over the years, but he'll finally get a starting role, at least for a while, in the Washington football team offense. He was my double deep danger dive in week 5, and then a sleeper in week 6. This week, he makes the waiver wire show, and later on this week, he could be a bump on benches and bumps, who knows? Definitely been on the rise the past couple weeks, and put up 15.8 fantasy points this past week. Good enough for tight end 6. He's only about 30% owned, so chances are, if you need a tight end, with everyone on bye in week 7, RSJ has a good matchup against the Packers this week. Get him and start him. Number 4, Dearness Johnson and Demetric Felton. Yeah, you heard me. There are 2 number 4 targets on this list. So what if it breaks the rules? It's my show. I do what I want. I make the rules, and I say fuck the rules. Anyway, with both Chubb and Hunt out for the foreseeable future, Johnson and Felton will be playing their roles respectively. No, I don't think they're going to be producing at quite the same level. They'd be number 1 on this list if I thought they were. But as the only options available at running back on a team that relies on running the ball and are well equipped to do so efficiently, they're definitely worth something. But which one do you pick? I think they're both going to help out in their own separate ways, just like a poor man's Chubb and Hunt would do. With Johnson getting the early reps like Chubb, and Felton coming in on passing downs like Hunt, in case you needed me to spell it out for you. The matchups aren't great in the near future, but as bye-week fill-ins, either will do. I lean toward Felton in PPR and Johnson in Standard, and that's why they share a spot. In a particularly barren waiver wire week, one of these guys will do as a pickup and see. Even if you pick up both, watch what they do, keep the stud, and toss the dud. You'll thank me later. Number 3, Rashad Bateman. For weeks, I and pretty much every other analyst said if this dude's available, pick him up, put him on your IR, and stash him. This past week, he finally made his season debut, coming off of injury, and in his first game in the NFL, they run him out there to run around on 2/3 of Lamar Jackson's dropbacks. He picked up 6 targets, catching 4 for 29 yards. Nah, he didn't light the stat sheet on fire, and Watkins will be coming back soon, but his usage this early suggests that they have plans for this kid. Big plans, and that can factor in when the playoffs roll around.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs?
Yeah, fuck you, Coach Mora. Like I said, it's my show, and if I want to talk about playoffs, I'll talk about the fucking playoffs. Because after week 7, we're already halfway through the regular season in fantasy in a lot of leagues. So it's time to make some bold moves and stash sleepers. No, he's not a sure thing, but if his first career game usage is any indication, I definitely lean on Rashad Bateman being a viable fantasy asset before the end of the season. So get him now, because next week it could already be too late. Number 2, Ramondre Stevenson. For those of you who are paying attention during training camp and preseason, and if you play fantasy football you should be, you know this guy. There was a lot of talk about him in camp, and then in preseason, dude was ripping it up, putting up the most rushing yards in preseason at 217 on 30 carries. That's over 7 yards per carry. But he ended up in Coach Belichick's doghouse after fumbling the ball in just 2 carries in the season opener. But with James White down and Harris banged up, Stevenson came in for relief and played much better than he had all season. He had 3 fewer touches in week 6 than in week 5, but he was a lot more efficient, getting the same amount of rushing yards as he had in the previous week of 23, but with less than half the carries at 5 versus 11 in week 5. But in total yards, he nearly tripled that amount, adding in 4 catches for 39 yards, giving him a total of 62 yards from scrimmage on that day. And the receptions are the reason you're picking him up, as it looks like he's going to be playing the James White role in this offense. And if the Pats want to preserve Damian Harris while seeing just what this talented young rookie can do, they'll give Stevenson a bit more work in this offense, and if Ramondre can keep the ball off the ground and continues to produce at the rate he has been, he'll be pushing for more and more work, especially on passing downs, and the Pats are sure to see a lot of those this season. This week, he's got the Jets, who suck camel cock against the run. So get him and start him this week, especially if you've got one of the many great running backs on bye, like Zeke, Eckler, Cook, Najee, or J-Rob. Then hold on to him and see what happens. Might be Bellatrix bullshit, but it might be gold. Snatch him up and find out. And my top waiver wire pickup of the week is J.D. McKissic. Gibson can't seem to stay fully healthy, and McKissic has already been the passing down back. If Gibson misses any more time, McKissic becomes a high-end RB2 right away. And no, I'm not concerned about Jarrett Patterson cutting in too much. McKissic can play the 3-down back role, and he's more familiar with the offense. JD showed last season that he could handle the load when needed, becoming a league winner for some in the process. I know I had him on some championship teams. He's the number 1 on this list because he's got a lot of value with or without Gibson starting, and boy can he produce when given the opportunity. He showed that last season and this season as well. Last week alone, he had 10 targets and 8 receptions for 65 yards, and he's not shabby running the ball either, getting 45 yards on 8 carries. That's over 5.5 yards per carry. This guy should have already been owned in most leagues, and after Gibson's injury scare going in and out of the lineup last Sunday, I expect him to be the top ad this week. But then again, it is a slow week, so don't go blowing your fab on him. I'd say 10 to 15% should get the job done. Maybe push for 20 if you really need help at the position. His schedule isn't great until after the bye in week 10, but that's when he faces a slew of defenses who have trouble with pass-catching backs. So get him now, stash him, use him as bye-week filler, then use him more in the second half of the season, and he just may lead you to the fantasy promised land. So there you go, freaks. Some goodies to ask the fantasy football Santa for tonight. And if you're good little boys and girls, or you happen to bid enough fab, or you have the top waiver wire priority, although I wouldn't blow it this week, Fantasy Santa might bring you those waiver wire gifts that you desire. Good luck on that, and make sure to check me out on the Fantasy Hustlers Fantasy News today and tomorrow. Look for that link coming soon. And again, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe. We need 10% likes at 500 subscribers by the end of the month. If between now and the end of the month we reach those goals, then I've got something real good planned for all of you. And don't forget, tomorrow night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Pacific, it's Mixed Notes. It's a different kind of show. A little silly, a little off the rails, but I always have good information and some amazing predictions on it. Don't forget to sign up on Patreon this week. You'll get 7 entries into the Grandprize Giveaway for that Stitch jersey. Plus, you'll get exclusive content, exclusive articles, rankings, bonus benches and bumps starting this week, and best of all, one-on-one advice via chat. Make me your own personal pocket guru. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We need 10% likes and 500 subscribers before the end of the month. Check me out as I'm going to be a guest on the Fantasy Hustlers Fantasy News today, tomorrow, and that might be a weekly thing. Keep your eye out on that. The Fantasy Kingdom is growing, and we're going to grow together with it. So let's do it, Fantasy Army. Let's kill it this week. Come check out the Fantasy Kingdom page on Facebook if you haven't yet. You'll find that link below too. Good luck on those waiver wire claims this week, and I'll see you Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern for Mixed Notes. Until then, I'm out. Peace.